In 1960, a mechanic at a DX station in Bay City, Michigan, drove a 7-year-old Chevrolet with not one spot of rust on it in a town where road salt ate a car to lace in 5 winters. His customers noticed. Their cars rusted out around the wheel wells while his kept their bodies year after year, and they wanted to know what expensive coating he used. He used a gallon of white vinegar that cost a quarter and found 40 uses for it. The one that mattered most he did to every car through his bay. Number 23 flushed the rust out of a cooling system and saved the engine. But the habit underneath all of it, the thing he did before rust could ever take hold, is number 1. And everyone still saves a car owner thousands today. He was not unusual. In 1960, there was a jug of vinegar in half the garages in America, next to a jug in half the kitchens. A man bought it for a quarter and found a mild acid did the work of a dozen products not yet invented. Vinegar dissolves rust. It cuts mineral scale. It kills mildew, lifts salt, and cleans glass without a streak. One jug did all of it. Today, there is a separate bottle for each job, each one $8, and the rust a quarter's worth of vinegar once stopped now sends cars to the crusher before their time. We did not gain anything. We were sold the same jug, broken into 40 bottles. Number 9 soaked a rusted exhaust stud until it backed out clean, where a wrench would have snapped it and turned a 10-minute job into a day of drilling. Number 23 flushed a cooling system so clean it ran cool again, and it works on the engine in your driveway today. And number 1, the habit that Bay City man did before any rust could start, the one his boss drilled into him before he could hold a wrench, costs nothing and is the reason his cars outlived every other car in that town. These 25 tricks were not about a cheap jug of vinegar. They were about a man who knew the chemistry under his own hands well enough that one jug did the work of 40, and knew that rust was not fate. The jug was simple. Knowing where rust started and killing it early was not. Every trick on this list, that Bay City man knew by heart. This is what he knew. Hit that subscribe button. And let us count down the 25 forgotten garage tricks 1960 mechanics used vinegar for that still save any car owner thousands today. Number 25, freeing a rusted seized bolt. The soak that saved the bolt and the knuckle. You soaked the frozen bolt in vinegar, wrapping a soaked rag around it, and let the mild acid eat into the rust that had welded the threads. An hour or a day later, it broke loose instead of snapping off. A farmer in 1960 freed a rusted plow bolt this way rather than drill it out, because a snapped bolt was an afternoon and a soak was some patience. Acetic acid dissolves the iron oxide binding rusted threads, and it frees a seized bolt on a modern car exactly as it did in 1960. The Bay City man started the soak the moment a bolt fought him and moved to other work while it did. The rust glued the threads. The vinegar unglued them. Number 24, stripping the rust off small parts and tools. An overnight bath that brought steel back. You drop the rusty bolts and tools into a pan of vinegar overnight. In the morning, the rust wiped off with a brush, and the bare steel came up clean. A young mechanic in 1960 salvaged a coffee can of rusted hardware this way because a box of bolts cost money and the jug was already on the shelf. The acid loosens rust without grinding away the good metal underneath, which is why restorers still soak parts in vinegar today. The rust looked permanent. It was waiting for the right bath. Number 23, flushing the rust and scale out of the cooling system, the cheap flush that saved a whole engine. You drained the cooling system, filled it with vinegar and water, ran it warm, then flushed it with clean water. The vinegar dissolved the rust and scale caked inside the radiator and block, the buildup that choked the flow and let it run hot. The Bay City man did this on every car that came in running warm, and it made his name because an overheating engine warped a head or cracked a block, and a 50-cent flush stood in the way of a $100 repair. He learned it from his boss, who told him a clean cooling system was the difference between an engine that lasted and one that boiled itself to death on the first hot hill. Scale still chokes a modern cooling system and overheats a modern engine, which is why this trick belongs on any car in your driveway today. The rust inside the engine was invisible. He washed it out before it could kill anything. Number 22, cleaning the windshield and glass streak-free, the mix that beat every spray cleaner. You mixed vinegar with water, wiped it over the glass, and buffed it dry with newspaper. It cut the road film and greasy fog off the inside and left it clear, with no streak. A cab driver in 1960 cleaned his glass every week because a clear windshield at night was the difference between seeing a child and not. The Bay City man kept a vinegar rag in every car he serviced for the glass alone. The haze was not the glass, but a film, and the vinegar took it off. Number 21, cutting the hard water spots off the chrome and glass. The mineral film no water would rinse away. You wiped vinegar over the chalky white spots, hard water left on the chrome and windows, and the mild acid dissolved the mineral deposit. Plain washing only smeared. A rinse, and the shine came back. A man in 1960 who washed his own car found vinegar took off the spots no soap would. In a hard water town where every car wore the same chalky film, the water left the spots. The vinegar erased them. Number 20, wiping the wiper blades to stop the streak and chatter. The 2-minute fix that saved a set of blades. You ran a vinegar-dampened rag down the rubber edge of each blade, lifting the grime and oil that made them streak and chatter. A pass or two, and blades you were ready to throw out wiped clean. A traveling salesman in 1960 wiped his blades at every gas stop in the rain because a streaking blade at 70 in a storm was as good as no blade. The Bay City man wiped a customer's blades clean before he ever sold them new ones. The blades were not worn out, only dirty, and dirty was free to fix.
Before we go on, I made something special for you. A guide for men like us, who still believe a man should be able to keep his own car running. It's the Forgotten Mechanic's Handbook, the old-fashioned car repair secrets our grandfathers used to fix any engine and keep it running for decades. But these skills are disappearing fast, and once they're gone for good. Don't pay another mechanic ever again. Scan the QR code on screen or click the link below. Go ahead, I'll wait right here.
Number 19, keeping the frost off the windshield overnight. The spray that saved the morning scrape. On a hard freeze night, you misted vinegar and water over the outside of the windshield, and it held off the frost that would have iced it solid by dawn. In the morning, the glass was clear, while every other car wore a sheet of ice. A factory worker in 1960 on the dawn shift did this every winter night, because 10 minutes scraping glass in the dark was 10 minutes he would rather sleep. The ice was not inevitable. A quarter's worth of vinegar kept it off. Number 18, deodorizing the interior, killing the smell instead of covering it. You set an open cup of vinegar in the closed car overnight, and it neutralized the odors of smoke, spills, and age. By morning, the sour smell was gone, and it had taken the other smells with it. A used car man in 1960 freshened a trade-in this way before every sale because a car that smelled clean sold faster than one that only looked it. The Bay City man kept a cup working in any car that came in stale. The air freshener hid the smell. The vinegar removed it. Number 17, killing the mildew in the carpet, trunk, and seats. The damp smell that spread to everything. When water had left mildew behind, you sponged a vinegar solution into the carpet, the trunk mat, and the seats, killing the mold at the root instead of covering the smell. Dried out, the fabric came back clean, and the reek was gone. A man in 1960 whose trunk had flooded saved his carpet this way, where a lesser cleaning would have left the mildew to return with the next damp week. The mildew was alive. The vinegar ended it. Here is something worth knowing. The people who study old cars have put a number on rust. Road salt does around $3 billion in corrosion damage to American vehicles every year, according to AAA, and it is a leading reason a car that still runs gets sent to the crusher, not the engine. The body, the brake lines, the frame, rusted through and rarely covered by insurance. Now walk the aisle of any parts store. A rust remover for $9, a radiator flush for $8, a glass cleaner, an adhesive remover, a mildew spray, a dicer, each in its own bottle. Bought separately, the shelf that does what one jug once did runs past $50. The man in 1960 did the opposite. One jug, a quarter, and the knowledge to use it 40 ways against the rust, eating his town's cars alive. That was not cheapness. It was knowing that rust is not fate, and the cure had been in the pantry the whole time. Nobody makes $1 reminding you of that. Number 16, lifting the road, salt rings out of the carpet and mats. The white stains winter tracked inside. You wiped a vinegar solution over the crusty white salt rings, winter boots left on the carpet and mats, dissolving the salt that plain water only spread around. A blot with a clean rag, and the stains came up. A northern family cleaned their floors this way every spring because salt left in the carpet held moisture and rusted the floor pan from the inside. Those white rings are the same road salt that rusts a modern floor pan, and vinegar still lifts them before they do. The salt did not just stain, it rotted the steel beneath. Number 15, softening the bumper stickers and adhesive off, the glue that scraped and smeared. You soaked the old sticker with vinegar until the glue softened, peeled it away clean, and wiped the residue off. No razor gouges, no smeared gum left behind. A used car man in 1960 stripped the last owner's stickers this way because a clean bumper looked like a cared-for car. The Bay City man took a sticker off without ever reaching for a blade. The glue held hard. The vinegar talked it loose. Number 14, removing the rust stains from the concrete floor. The orange map of everything that had sat there. You poured vinegar over the rust stains on the floor and scrubbed with a stiff brush. The acid dissolved, the rust bonded into the concrete, and a rinse took the orange with it. A garage owner in 1960 kept his floor clean this way because a stained floor hid the fresh drip a clean one showed at once. The stain looked set for good. The acid loosened its grip. Number 13, clearing the mineral scale from the washer nozzles and lines, the clog that starved the windshield. When the washer jets dribbled or quit, you ran vinegar and water through the reservoir and lines, dissolving the mineral scale that had clogged the tiny nozzles. Flushed clean, they sprayed a full pattern again. A driver in 1960 fixed his weak washers this way because a clogged jet on a bug-smeared windshield was a real hazard at speed. The Bay City man flushed a scaled washer system rather than replace a single part. The pump was fine. The jets were limed shut, and vinegar opened them. Number 12. Freeing and cleaning the rusted battery hold down, the corroded bracket that trapped the battery. You soaked the rust-frozen hold-down bolt and bracket with vinegar until it loosened, then cleaned the rust off the tray and clamp. Freed and cleaned, the bolt turned again, and the bracket held tight. A mechanic in 1960 who had rounded off one seized hold-down too many soaked them first, because a snapped bracket bolt meant drilling in a tight, corroded corner. The bolt was not stuck for good, only rusted, and rust has a solvent. Number 11. Bringing the light surface rust off the chrome. The first orange freckles on the bright work. You wiped vinegar onto the first specks of rust on a chrome bumper, let it sit, and rubbed it off with fine steel wool. The mild acid lifted the surface rust without the deep scratches a harsh abrasive left, and a coat of wax sealed it. A man, proud of his car in 1960, caught the freckles early, before a spot of rust bloomed into a hole no polish could hide. The Bay City man hit a fleck of rust the day it appeared, never the month after. The rust was just beginning. He never gave it time to finish. Number 10. Cleaning the salt haze off the paint after winter, the dull white film a season of salt left behind. You washed the car and went over the dull, salt-hazed paint with a weak vinegar rinse, cutting the mineral film that held moisture against the metal. A final rinse of clean water, and the paint came back bright. A northern man gave his car this rinse every spring because the salt film on the paint was the film slowly working under it. The same rinse strips the winter salt film off a modern car's paint before it can start the ROT underneath. The film looked like nothing. It was the beginning of everything that rusts. Here is the part of his story we skipped. The Bay City man did not start knowing any of this. He started pumping gas and sweeping the bay for the old owner, a man who kept a gallon of vinegar on the bench and treated rust like a personal enemy. For 2 years, the old man would point at a fresh orange speck on a fender, put a rag and the jug in the boy's hands and say, "Kill it now or dig a hole later," and walk away. The boy thought it foolishness until the winter he watched 2 identical cars bought the same year, and the one the old man had tended still had its rockers while the other was lace. Then one spring the boy caught rust on a truck's cab corner before the old man did, hid it with vinegar, and sealed it. And the old man just nodded. He ran that station for 30 years, in a town that ate cars alive, and his customers' cars did not rust. And the one habit the old man drilled into him before all the others, the thing he did before any rust could start, is almost here. It is number 1. Number 9. Soaking a seized exhaust stud so it backed out instead of snapping, the stud that would have ruined the whole job. Before you touched a rusted exhaust stud, you soaked it in vinegar and gave it time, wrapping it in a soaked rag to hold the acid against the threads. Then it backed out whole instead of shearing off flush and turning a simple job into a drilling nightmare. A mechanic in 1960 who had drilled out one snapped manifold stud too many soaked them first, because 10 minutes of patience saved a day of misery. The stud would not break because it was weak, but because someone was impatient. Number 8. Cleaning the rust off hand tools and stopping it coming back. The wrenches a damp garage had freckled. You soaked the rust-freckled wrenches and pliers in vinegar until the rust wiped off, dried them, then wiped them with an oily rag to keep it from returning. Tools you had half given up on came back bright. A tradesman in 1960 saved a rusted toolbox this way because good tools were bought once for a lifetime, and a wet season had freckled them out of his hands. The Bay City man kept his own tools clean and oiled, and they outlived him. The rust was reclaiming the steel. He took it back. Number 7. Rinsing the road salt off the undercarriage, the wash that reached where the rust started. After the salt roads, you got under the car and rinsed the frame, floor pans, and wheel wells, a splash of vinegar cutting the caked salt film. The salt that would have sat there all winter, eating the steel, went down the drain instead. A northern driver did this through every thaw, because the rust that killed a car started underneath, where no one looked. Road salt still rots a modern car from the underside first, and a winter rinse still buys it years. The rust started where you could not see it. He washed it away before it could dig in. Number 6. Cutting the film off the vinyl and the dash, the sticky haze that dulled the whole interior. You wiped a weak vinegar solution over the vinyl seats, dash, and door panels, cutting the greasy film of smoke and grime. The surfaces came up clean and matte, not sticky with old dirt. A used car man in 1960 wiped down an interior before a sale because a clean dash told a buyer the car had been cared for. The Bay City man cleaned an interior with the same jug he cleaned everything else. The vinyl was not worn, only filmed over, and vinegar cut the film. Number 5. Stopping a spot of surface rust on the body. Wipe it, then seal it before it spread. When you found surface rust on a fender or door, you wiped it back to bare metal with vinegar, dried it, and sealed it at once with primer, paint, or a film of oil. The vinegar stopped the rust you could see. The seal stopped what would start it again. A careful owner in 1960 treated the first spot the week he found it because rust caught at a freckle was a dab of paint, and rust ignored was a new panel. Surface rust spreads under the paint of a modern car exactly the same way, and catching it early still saves the panel. The vinegar killed the rust. The seal kept it dead. Number 4. Clearing the packed salt and mud from the door drains and rockers, the trapped filth that held water against the steel. You cleared the little drain holes in the bottoms of the doors and rockers and flushed the packed salt and mud out with vinegar water. Plugged, those drains held salty water against the steel all winter. Open, they let it run out and kept the metal dry. A northern mechanic in 1960 cleared those drains every fall because a door rusts from the bottom where trapped water sits and works. Those same drain holes still plug and still rot out a modern door and rocker, and clearing them still stops it. The door did not rust from the rain, but from the water that could not get out. Number 3. Knowing the places rust always starts. The rockers, the wheel wells, the seams, the trunk lip. You did not look for rust everywhere at once. You looked where it always began. The rocker panels, the lower fenders and wheel wells, the seams where panels met, the lip of the trunk and the hood. Those were the traps that held salt and water, and rust started there every time, long before it showed anywhere else. The Bay City man could walk up to any car in that town and put his hand on the spot where the rust was starting because he had learned the map of it from the old owner. He taught his customers the same handful of places, so a man could check his own car in 2 minutes and catch the rot at a freckle instead of a hole. Rust was not random. It started in the same places on every car, and he always looked there first. Number 2, the weekly walk with the jug and the rag. 5 minutes that made every other trick work. Once a week you walked around the car with the jug and a rag, a wipe at a fresh spot on the chrome, a look in the wheel wells, a rinse of a salt-caked seam, a check of the door drains. It was not a repair. It was a standing appointment with the metal, the 5 minutes that kept the rust from ever getting started. The Bay City man did this to his own car every Sunday and taught the boy who pumped his gas that the 5 minutes with the jug were worth more than any body work his own hands could do after. He said rust was slow, and slow could be beaten by anyone who looked once a week and hit what he found. The body shop fixed rust after it won. He beat it every week before it started. Number 1, looking for the first speck of rust and killing it the day it showed. That is all. And it is what this whole list has circled from the start. Before it could spread, before it could bubble the paint or eat a seam, you found the first orange speck and you killed it that day with a wipe of vinegar and a dab of seal. Rust never started as a hole. It started as a freckle that someone drove past, week after week, until it was too late. The Bay City man built his whole name on this, and he had done it since the winter. The old owner handed him a rag and a jug and said, "Kill it now or dig a hole later." It was the first thing his boss ever taught him, and the last thing he taught the boy who took over the station. Every other trick on this list, the flush, the soak, the salt rinse, was only this one habit, made specific. Find it early, and it never wins. Number 1 is not a trick. It is a look and a rag. Catch the rust at a freckle, and it never becomes a hole. None of these tricks needed a specialty product or a coating. They needed a quarter jug of vinegar and a man who understood that rust was not fate, but a slow chemistry that a patient chemistry could stop. That knowledge was ordinary once, in a town where the salt ate every car and one man's cars refused to go. He dissolved the rust off a bolt, flushed it out of an engine, rinsed the salt off the underside, and caught the first freckle before it spread. A quarter's worth of vinegar, used with that much care, saved his customers thousands over the life of a car. Here is what they do not tell you. Every one of these tricks still works on any car in your driveway right now. The steel is the same, the salt is the same, and rust is still what sends a running car to the crusher. Wipe it, flush it, rinse the salt away, and catch the first spot early, and you will save thousands, exactly as in 1960. The car changed. The rust did not. We did not lose the jug. It still sits on the shelf, a couple dollars now instead of a quarter. We lost the man who knew 40 uses for it, and the hands that had killed rust so many times they went straight to the spot. We lost the old owner who handed a boy a rag and a jug and said, "Kill it now or dig a hole later." The boy learned and kept the cars in a rusting town whole for 30 years. And on his last day, he put the jug and a rag in a new boy's hands, pointed at a fresh orange speck on a fender, and said the same 7 words,